So good afternoon, you see. So we'll start our discussion. So you are able to see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
So now anyway, so last class, we have closed our response spectrum. So how many response spectrums are there for a time history? Total, how many you can compute?
5.
So total 5 are there. One is spectral displacement, then spectral acceleration, spectral velocity, then false. Okay, pseudo velocity, then pseudo, the acceleration, which is just omega into this omega square into that itself. Okay, so that also we have seen. And finally, response spectra helps you, okay, in identifying the frequency content, or what type of structures are in danger, say, will attract more forces. You can easily identify from this spectrum. Okay, so finally, so we closed our response spectra. So now asymptotic properties also we have seen. Then we started this Fourier spectrum also, which is a direct way, and it's a very classical thing, okay, in signal processing, say. So everybody does this Fourier, the spectrum itself. Okay, so the concept of Fourier spectrum is very simple. Okay, so if you see a sine wave, say, you will have like this. So if you mix 2 or 3 sine waves, like different frequencies, you can get complicated shapes itself. So the idea here is, if you mix several sine waves with different frequencies and their phase intervals, the time histories looks complex, and our earthquake acceleration time histories are also complex only. So the idea is, the earthquake acceleration time histories also can be represented as a sum of several sine waves is the question. Okay, so that is what is this Fourier spectrum comes into picture. And Fourier spectrums are the fundamental building blocks, say, in our discrete Fourier transforms and all other things, is this rectangular function. Is a very important thing in the whole signal processing. Okay, so this rectangular function, last class I have shown you, we have derived also the analytical expression for its Fourier transform. So if this is symmetric, say, so then you will have only real part, and its amplitude will be high at omega is equal to 0. That is 8 times f naught or something we have seen. Now when t naught is you are shifting, say, it is not symmetric about the origin some portion, then the Fourier transform becomes complex. So you have a real part and you have imaginary part, but real parts are symmetric, imaginary parts are asymmetric kind of thing also it happens. Okay, so as t naught is increasing, say, amplitudes will remain same, but you will be having a the phase shift. See, like for example, if you have real part, imaginary, say, you take their absolute, that is square root of real square plus im square, then you will get more or less the same thing only. But phase difference you will see between the real part and imaginary part, say. So you can see the phase also. When this is peaking, what time this is peaking, you followed it, what time this is peaking, what time this is peaking. So these phase differences, where the peaks are appearing, say, so that will be the change. Okay, so this we have seen in our last class. So now so this is anyway about the continuous the Fourier transform. So now in practice, when you have data, that is a digital data, so now you may have to do it in a discrete the format. So for that you followed it. So we should see this this discrete Fourier transform. So we write like this, discrete is a Fourier transform. Okay, so this has to be seen. So I will just some briefly, you see, we will discuss this DFT. Okay, so this is the concept here. So now this discrete Fourier transforms, it starts from Fourier series only. Okay, so this is a building block for all the Fourier transforms. So all of you would have seen this Fourier series. Okay, so if you have any function, say, so a naught by 2 plus some sigma, say, n is equal to 1 to infinity. So an cos omega n plus we have, right, bn sine omega n times t. So this is my Fourier series expansion, where an these are all orthogonal functions. So you can find out from this integrals. So f of t cos omega n t dt, and bn, say, okay, so this will be sine term. So 2 by t into 0 to t. So f of t sine omega n t dt. So these are the constants basically. Okay, so now this expression, generally Fourier series is written in terms of cos and sine. We can make it into e to the power of also. So all of you know, right, cos omega nt can be written as, you know, e to the power of I omega nt plus e to the power of minus I omega nt by 2, and then sine omega nt, say. So this becomes, you know, e to the power of I omega nt minus e to the power of I omega nt by 2 times I. Okay, so you substitute these two in this expression, say, we will get our discrete, you know, the Fourier transform. So you have to do some little bit of, you know, the algebra, and then you followed. So if you write, I will just write, and then we will, you will do that algebra. So a naught by 2, say, plus, you know, n is equal to 1 to infinity. So a n minus I times bn. Okay, so e to the power of I omega nt by 2 plus, just substitute cos omega nt and this itself. So n is equal to 1 to infinity. So a n plus I times bn. Okay, e to the power of, you know, minus I omega nt by 2. So just substitute in this expression, and then an bn has a nice property. See, what is an's property? See, suppose, you know, this is my an here. Okay, so suppose if I take a of minus n, say, what happens here? If you take negative this one, if you just change the sign of that, you know, if you, instead of taking omega, if I take minus omega, say, what happens? What is the cos of minus theta?
Cos theta.
So that is a symmetric quantity. Now similarly, what is sine of minus theta?
Minus sine theta.
Minus sine theta. So so this an bn has some interesting property. So an is same as a times minus n, but whereas bn, say, okay, is minus, you followed, right? So these things will come. Okay, so now you can make all the substitutions, and then you can do, you have to do little bit algebra, like you say, this expression, that expression, and others. So finally, say, okay, so n is equal to, I can combine, see here all the summations are from n is equal to 1 to infinity, but my Fourier transform, the integral is from minus infinity to infinity. So now for that, you know, we are doing all these algebra. It's a straightforward. Okay, so if you take all these properties, so finally we can write all the, you know, the expressions by 2 e to the power of I omega nt. So we can combine all those terms itself, or you know, f of t, say. So this I can write as, you know, n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity. So cn e to the power of I omega nt. Okay, so this is my final expression. So use the property. You have to do some algebra here, substitute here, and then you follow, right, minus and others you can do. It is straightforward. Okay, so that you can easily derive. So this is my Fourier transform, and cn, say, so this cn can be extracted, you see, 1 by t, 0 to t, f of t, you know, e to the power of I omega nt dt. Okay, so this is my cn. So cn is anyway, you know, an and bn is there. So an bn, you know, already an and bn. So substitutes a cos omega nt sine omega nt, you know, automatically is it, this e to the power of, you know, this comes into picture. So this is my, sometimes, you know, people also say this as a complex Fourier series also. Okay, this is a complex, you know, the Fourier series. You followed, because we are writing everything in terms of this itself. So now, you know, what to do here is, you know, suppose if I have any digital data, say, okay, discrete time. So if I have, you know, discrete time points are there, basically. Okay, so like for example, I have a data like this, like yesterday also I told you. So first data is here, so second data, third data, like this, you know, I have several data sets are there, you know. So what with, so this is at t naught, then this is at is it t1, then I have is it t2, like this, you know, t3, then you see t4 kind of thing. So digital data sets are there. Okay, so what we try to do here is, you know, see, like how do you find out area under a function? So if I give a numerically a function, say, how do you find out the area? How do you find out area? Now what do you do? What is that integral? So that is numerical integration. Suppose if you do continuous integration also, what is the basic procedure of integration, that Riemann integral which you have studied? So that integral, whatever you have studied, say f of x dx a to b. So what is this? What do you call this integral? How do we calculate integrals in mathematics? What is that integral? Riemann integral. You see, we say, what do you do essentially?
Area under the
remember curve. Limits area under the curve only, but how it calculates? So what is how the integration? The definition came, that original one. See, what does that definition says? If I have any function like this, say, okay, what does that, if I want to compute area under this function, what is the basic philosophy? How this integral comes? Any of you remember that Riemann integral? You would have studied in your 8th class or 9th class when you have first studied the concept of limits, continuity, integration. Say, what does the integral says? See, the integration says whenever you see a function, you divide this into these type of small rectangles basically. Okay, this we divide everything into these rectangles or something. Then you find out area of each rectangle, say, okay, and then you add up the area of all the rectangles. Then as the limit, the width of the rectangle goes to 0. Okay, so that goes to this integral basically. Okay, so our basic integration definition itself is whenever you have a data, whenever you have any maybe continuous function also, you divide that continuous function into several rectangles, and the limit of rectangles as it goes to 0, that summation will become a integral. So this is the concept of Riemann integral. Okay, that is how our whole calculus and other things you followed, right? You take the x-axis, you divide it into equal intervals. You find out the corresponding y value, and then you sum it up everything. And as the x-axis width decreases to 0, it goes to a integral. That is how the integrals are defined. So here also we use the same concept actually here. So any function, say, so we can represent as a Riemann integral kind of a thing. So here also I have my time points. Okay, so this is my, you see, the time points are there. So we do, you follow it. So this is my points are here. So what to do? So my data is available at T0, T1, T2, T3, T4, T5 like that. So to compute this integral, okay, that is our Cn. So this coefficients have to be estimated. So we will solve this integral in a classical, that Riemann integral kind of a thing. So same thing. So what we do is we form small rectangles. So this Cn, say, so that integration has to be, you have to break that integral. So m is equal to 0. M minus 1 if there are m points. So small m is index. So let me write that also. So small m is the index for time points. Okay. And the capital M, say, is the total number of time points. Okay, so this is our small m and capital M. So now like for 10 seconds I have 10,000 points are there, and m is the index T1, T0, T2, T3. So now m is equal to 0. So this integral, whatever integral is there here, that is integral 0 to t. Now you have to integrate this function over each rectangle basically. So this is my rectangle. Okay, these are my rectangles here. So now each rectangle width is how much? Now, say T1, T2, T3, T4, I have say the width of this, all these rectangles are, now what will be the width of these rectangles? See how we have chosen. See what is a T1 minus T0?
Width of the
width only. T2 minus T1, T1 minus T0, T3 minus T2, T4 minus T3, say these are all width of the rectangles. In practice, what will be the width of all these rectangles? Delta T, you remember? So delta T will be, delta T is the width of the rectangle. Generally, it will be equal widths only. You follow T2 minus T1 or whatever, say the width of the rectangle. So now here this to this point to this point, say it is you follow, right, a delta T kind of a thing. So now in each rectangle is width is delta T itself. So if the T4 is a point, so the width this point and this point will be the limits of the integral will be T4 minus delta T by 2, T4 plus delta T by 2 itself. So this is how we write. And then Tm plus delta t by 2. So this is my integral limits. So fm is the value of the function I omega n into dt. So this is my you followed, right, that Fourier coefficients say I am calculating from this expression. So here also so that's why I'm saying rectangular function is very, very important, because your whole integration, whatever you have studied in mathematics, that Riemann integral concept, everything comes from rectangle. So in Fourier series also, we should know how to evaluate the rectangular function. Then any function can be broken into several rectangles, and you can already find out this one. Now, what is the Fourier transform of a rectangle? Now, already we have derived in the last class. You followed. What's the Fourier transform? You remember? Now, so that is the area, you remember, right? Already we have done. So T naught A was the width, say. What is its amplitude? No.
AF naught.
AF naught actual. So now here, what is the width here of this rectangle? What is the width?
Delta T.
Delta T is the width actual. That's all. So Fm delta T, and then sine, you remember, sine omega A by 2 we have written last class. So here omega delta T by 2. That's all. Divided by, below also we had that omega was there. So omega delta T by 2. Okay. And we have the phase also. Why phase comes? E to the power of minus I omega n into Tm. You remember last class when the rectangular function of all the rectangular functions, say suppose this rectangle functions, it has a phase difference of T1 basically, then a T2. So the whole rectangle has been shifting from from origin. If it is symmetric, then this will be not be there. But because of that one, you have a phase shift is there. So this is the Fourier transform or whatever, sorry, the Fourier coefficients or whatever for a discrete digital data. You can estimate like this. Now here also, as delta t tends to 0, when it becomes very, very small, say delta t, what happens to this function? As delta t becomes very, very small,
becomes 1.
You know, right, that rule, limit theta tends to 0, sine theta by theta goes to 1 itself. So this can be neglected actually. Okay, when delta, and then earthquake engineering also, what is a delta t? Have you downloaded the data from Cosmos website? Like delta t, what will be the delta t for an earthquakes accelerations?
0.005 seconds.
0.005. That means it is as good as very, very small actual. Okay, so this will be 1 itself. So this can be neglected. But if we are analyzing some other data sets, say where delta t is large, then this cannot be, you cannot use that this assumption. Okay, so anyway, so this, so finally m is equal to 0, m minus 1. So this you can neglect. So Fm delta t u to the power of minus I omega n into Tm. So this is my Cn actually. So this way you can find out the Fourier coefficients, that is Cn associated with omega n itself. Now here also we can do some things. Now this n basically, small m, capital M, we have defined index and the number of total points. Now this small n is the index for frequency points. Okay, in the frequency points, in frequency, how many coefficients are there, say? Now if I define capital N, that is a total number of I not required basically capital N itself. So now let us see this one. So index in frequency points, say if I can write omega n into Tm, so this becomes omega is 2 pi times f. Okay, Fn we can write into Tm. Tm is anyway m times delta t actual. I can write this also. And 2 pi Fn, say I can also write this as 2 pi by t into n. Okay, so this expression multiplied by m times delta t. Okay, Fn also I can write as n times the delta f naught or whatever. So that is 2 pi by t. T is the total duration actual. Okay, so now this expression also we can write as 2 pi by t. N is there, then m into delta t is anyway is capital T by capital M. So this TT gets cancelled. So this becomes 2 pi small m by capital M actual. So this is my that omega n into Tm. And omega, the lowest frequency, what is the lowest frequency present in the signal? See, suppose if I have a time history which has a duration of 30 seconds. Generally in the digital data. Okay, so now what will be its lowest frequency present in the signal? Now, see, if I have a data of 30 seconds, what is the lowest frequency? Now, what's the lowest frequency? See, voice is not audible. Be loud. No.
1/30.
I think your voice is not. How to speak loudly. What is the lowest frequency? See, in dynamics you would have studied, right? If I have the functions like this, like transient functions or something, we say you followed, right? So if I have a function like this, for something like you say I have a rectangular function like this, to make it periodic, a non-periodic function, so we assume that same function is repeating, you see, after some point of a time like that we write. So the total duration itself is its time period itself. Okay, so if I have a signal with 30 seconds is the duration, say, so the lowest frequency will be 1/t itself. If you want in radians per second, so we write 2π/t itself. That is how we calculate the lowest frequency. Okay, so omega naught is 2π/T. So capital T is the total duration of the ground mode, total duration of the signal. You followed. So this is how we do it in for the Fourier spectra. So e to the power of 2πn. So if I write that expression, say, okay, so Cn, so this will be m is equal to 0 to m minus 1. So Fm delta T, then e to the power of minus I 2π n m by capital M. So this is my final the Fourier coefficients or something we say, or discrete Fourier transform also we can write actual. Okay, so now if I have discrete data, say, so now here one interesting thing has to be done actual. Now in time domain, say, okay, in the data, if you see in time, the small m and the capital M are fixed basically. Because we know delta T and we know the total duration of the signal. So these are points. Suppose earthquake acceleration time is, you would have downloaded Chamoli or something, 5,000 points will be there, and delta T also. So in the time domain, everything is fixed actually. How many number of points are there? What is the total duration? Everything is fixed. But now in the frequency domain, say, so this summation, you can go do anything actually. So in a frequency domain, what should be the limits for n value? So the small n, say, it can go from 0 to infinity. So theoretically speaking, I can compute n can be 100, n can be 1000, n can be infinity. So the question comes, how much I should take my n, how many Fourier coefficients are required? So that becomes a issue here itself. So here we can solve this like this. So if n is small, the small n, say, if it is greater than the number of time points, basically, that means I define n star, which is small n plus capital M. So n is anyway integer. So if the number of time points are 1000, say, so now if I can compute Cn, that is the Fourier coefficients from 1 to 1000, and if I want to compute C 1000th value, say, that is more than your number of time points, what happens actually? Okay, so C at is n star. So this I can write this as so m is equal to 0, m minus 1. So Fm delta T, then e to the power of I 2π. Okay, so small n plus capital M multiplied by small m by capital M itself. So now this equation, say, so this I can write this as m is equal to 0, capital M minus 1, Fm delta T, then e to the power of I 2π n small m by m. This is done. Now other quantities is I 2π capital M small m by capital M. So capital M gets cancelled. So finally I will be left with e to the power of I 2π times small m. Now what is the value of this one? What is m? M is basically an integer. It goes from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What will be its value? Now what is e to the power of I times 2π? Now see, what is the value of e to the power of I times 2π?
1.
What is e to the power of I times 4π?
It's 1.
Now m will vary from m. If it is 0, then anyway e to the power of 0 is 1. If m is 1, say, then it e to the power of I 2π. If m is 2 say, then e to the power of I times 4 pi. What is e to the power of I times 4 pi?
1.
E to the power of 6 times, like m is equal to 3 say, 3 2s are 6 pi. What is e to the power of 6 pi? I 6 pi. That is also 1 only. 8 pi
1.
is, whatever value you take say. So this automatically turns out to be, this entire thing say is 1 itself. So what does it important thing it appears? Now, what is that important thing you have done here? So C of n star you followed, right? Now what is, so C of, what is this quantity? Now what is this quantity? E to the power of I 2 pi nm by capital M. What is this value? It is nothing but, now see this here, what is this value? Now it's same as, see what is this value? It is same as what is C of n star. Now, so C of n star, that means we have taken n plus m, that is more than m points. So what is happening? So your C of n star, and what is this quantity? This is what is the value? What is this number? This is nothing but your, what is the expression for this? See the above one. So C of n star is same as
C of n.
C of n. So what does it tells you? So C of n star is same as Cn. So in time domains, if I have 1000 points are there, okay, that is my capital M is 1000 points are there, say. Now my Fourier coefficients, I can compute C0, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6 like that up to C times 1000. But if I start computing C 1000th value, so this will be same as which one? Now what will be C 1000th times 1 will be same as which one?
C1.
C1. So what is n star? N star is same as n plus m. Okay. So 1000 plus 1. So C1. And C 1002 values. This will be same as C2. So what is happening to your Fourier coefficients? Now, so if you have exceeded the number of your time points, what is happening? So what is happening to your function? It is becoming. Now, what do you call this property? And if you take C of 2001, say, what will be C of 2001? Now, 2001, what happens? That is m plus the n star. So what will be this value? It will also will be same as
C1.
C1 itself. So what is happening? So the same thing is getting, you followed it, repetitive after 1000 say. Same thing it is getting repeated. So what do you call this property? If the same thing is repeating after some point of time, say, we call this as a
Cyclic.
Periodic kind of a thing. Repetition, same thing comes actual. So although Fourier transforms also you can compute for n number of digitally, but there is no use actual. Okay, so the first 1000 points itself is sufficient. So if in time domain, if you have 10,000 points, say, so how many Fourier coefficients are required? So how many Fourier coefficients are required?
1000.
No. If you have in time domain, if you have 10,000 points, say, so how many Fourier coefficients are required?
10,000.
10,000, that's all, because 10,000th value will be same as your the first value itself. That is what you see it says. Okay, so this is a very important property of the discrete the Fourier transform. So tomorrow when you calculate on computer you will see. Okay, now let us do one example. Okay, so now I have some time history. 8 points are there and the delta t is 1. Okay, same rectangular function itself, and the function is like this. So f1, f2 are 1, all other points is f0, then f3, then f4, then f5, then f6, then up to f8. Okay, all of them are all 0 0 kind of a thing. So I have a function like this. Okay, so 1 is here, 2 is here, then 3 4 5 6 I have. So the function is like this, you followed. So and its value is equal to 1. So this is 0 here. So this is a rectangular function. Duration is 1 second and it is between 1 and 2 seconds only. All other points it is 0, and total number of points are 8 points only are there. That's all. Okay. So now I will calculate my Fourier coefficient. So this is m is equal to 0, m minus 1. So fm delta t, okay, e to the power of minus I 2 pi n m by capital M. So this is my Fourier, this one. So now I will calculate my expressions. Okay. So now C naught, what will be, so or this, if you write this value, all fm's. So fm, f naught is, what is the value of f naught? No.
0.
0. All values are 0 in this summation. Okay. So this summation goes from m is equal to 0 to m minus 1. M minus 1 means 7 points. F naught, F1, F2 up to 7. Now on the summations all are 0 except F1 and F2. That's all only. So I can write this as F1 e to the power of I n pi, okay, by 4 plus F2 e to the power of I n pi by 2. So these are only two non-zero terms are there. You substitute m is equal to 1 if you put. So I will have 2 pi n by 8 will be there because m is 8. So 2 4s are 8. So this comes, and 2 also will be there. Okay. So this is my Fourier coefficients. Okay. Now I will calculate all the numbers. So C naught, what is the value of C naught? So n is equal to 0. What is the value? N is equal to 0. That is the 0th Fourier coefficient. What is the value? Substitute n is equal to 0. What happens here?
F1 plus F2.
What is F1 and F2?
1.
Sorry. What is F1 and F2?
1.
So 1 plus 1 is how much?
2.
2. This is the C naught value. Now C1, that is n is equal to 1 you substitute, say. So 1 when you substitute, e to the power of I pi by 4 will come. You remember? What is e to the power of I pi by 4? You remember, no? And n is equal to 1. So what is e to the power of I pi by 2? So sine pi by 2 plus, you know, that cos pi by 2, you remember, right? All those things, that formulas. Okay. So this turns out to be 0.707 minus 1.707 times I. This is the C1 coefficient. Now C2, if you compute, say minus 1 minus I comes. C3 also, you know, you will have minus 707 plus some 0.293 times I. This turns out to be C3. Then we have C4. Okay, C4 becomes 0. Then C5, this is minus 0.707 minus 0.293 times I. C5. Then C6. This becomes minus 1 plus I. Then C7, this turns out to be minus 707 plus 1.707 times I. Okay. Then C8 basically. What will be C8? You tell me. C0, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7. Now what will be C8? Now guess what will be the value. If you can substitute n is equal to 8 means, so here if I substitute 8 by 4 is 2. So this becomes 2 pi. Okay. This also if I substitute 8, so 8 by 2 becomes 4 pi. Now what's the value of e to the power of 2 pi and 4 pi?
1 plus 1 is
1. So what is 1 plus 1?
2.
Now 2 is same as
C naught.
Why?
Periodic.
So now what will be C9? You want to calculate what will be C9 value? You can calculate also, but now you tell me what will be C9 will be same as
C1.
C1 itself. You calculate. Okay, no need to this one. And the C10 will be same as you followed, right? C2. So same thing gets repeated kind of thing itself. But here, if you see these up to these points, say up to C7, here also you will observe one interesting pattern. What is the pattern here? So see these things here. C3 is here. Okay, C4 is 0. What is C5 is this one. Observe closely C3 and C5. What is that you can observe?
So antisymmetric.
Antisymmetric. What do you call this one?
Complementary.
See, you people have done complex numbers, right? What do you call A plus IB and A minus IB?
Conjugate.
Conjugate, complex conjugates. Okay, don't say antisymmetric and other things. Okay, so now what is C3 and C5? They are basically complex conjugates. Now you see C6 and C2. Tell me what is C6 and C2?
Complex conjugates.
Now similarly C7 and C1. They are also C1 and C7 are
Complex conjugates.
so now what is your comment here? How many unique things are there?
3.
So do I have to calculate C7? See, C5 I should calculate. C5 is same as C3 only, but only it is a complex conjugate. Now C6 also is same as C2 itself. That is also complex conjugate. Now C7 also is same as something. So although you are having 8 points, say, but after 4 points, then same thing is getting repeated, but it in a complex conjugate fashion. After 8 points, say, then everything is getting repeated, same to same, same to same, same to same actually. Okay, so now finally how many number of points are required, honestly speaking?
5.
C0, C1, C2, C3, C4. That's all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up to here, if I know the coefficients, after that, other half I will fill up with complex conjugate, and after that, the remaining everything is getting repeated itself. Actually, okay. So this you followed it. It's a very, very important thing in Fourier transforms. Okay. So what we say is, if m points are there, say, okay. So if m points are there, in the time domain. Okay, so if there are m points, I think, sorry, capital M, actually not small m is the index here. So if there are capital M points are there in time domain, say, so number of coefficients, okay, required in frequency domain. So required in the frequency domain is basically, you see, capital M by 2 approximately. Okay, so of course m can be even or m can be odd, m by 2 plus 1 or something also may be there. So this is how we write. So if there are 8 points are there, say 8 or 9 points are there, are 1000 points are there, say, so how many Fourier coefficients are required? So 1000 points are there. How many Fourier coefficients are required?
500.
Previously what we told was after 1000 the same things was repeating, but after 500 itself same thing is getting repeated, but complex conjugate. But if you try to compute amplitudes, what happens? Amplitude means a real part square plus the imaginary part square. So what will be the amplitudes? The amplitudes will be same or different?
Same.
Same, no, because amplitude complex conjugate is a different issue, but phase will be different. Okay, tan inverse, that will be changed, but other things are all same itself. Okay, so generally what we do is so omega n, so this is n times omega naught, so we write 2 pi, you see, small n by t itself, and the last frequency, the highest frequency present in the signal, we say. So the highest frequency present in the signal, although it is in the signal, lowest frequency is 1 by capital T, but the highest frequency present in the signal, so that is you followed, right? We take this as so the highest frequency is mn, so this is capital M by 2, you followed, right? Why m by 2 we are doing? So this becomes a capital M by 2 times, you see, m into delta t, small this will also be, right? So this m gets cancelled, and finally 1 by, you see, 2 delta t turns out to be like this. Okay, so this is my the lowest frequency, 1 by 2 times, you see, delta t, you followed. So this is how we calculate our you see, this the highest frequency present in the signal. So why this 2 comes, why this 2 is coming? Because of because of that complex conjugate. Suppose if it was not complex conjugate, so what's the highest frequency present in the signal? 1 by
delta t.
1 by delta t itself. Lowest frequency is
1 by total time period of the
total duration. So lowest frequency, anyway, there is no confusion. That is 1 by capital T. The highest frequency present in the signal is a function of delta T, and because of this complex conjugates, so this 2 also comes into picture itself. So now this is what we call as a Nyquist frequency also. This is a very important concept, the Nyquist frequency. You see, we say of the experiment. Now you tell me, I think it's one, I think Raidu, right? You told, no? What is the delta T you have seen for earthquakes? What is that instrument, Chamoli, if you have downloaded? So what was the delta T?
Actually, for old and ground motion, it is 0.002, sir.
0.002.
002. Yes, sir. For new earthquake, it is coming 0.005.
0.005. You check once again, it is not 0.002, it will be 0.02 as far as I remember. Okay. Now you tell me, for the old instruments, what is the highest frequency present in that, say, that instrument can record? See, that older instruments are there, no? Now you know the delta T of that instrument. Now you tell me what is the highest frequency it can record?
25 hertz.
25 hertz actually. Now the new instruments. Now the new instruments, what has happened?
100 hertz.
100 hertz. You followed. So the old instruments can record from 0 to 25 hertz only, but the new instruments, they can record from 0 to 100 hertz actually. So if you want to have, which is a better equipment, old one or new one?
New.
So how do you check whether it is a good equipment or not? Now it should be able to record all frequencies. Okay, so now if delta T is very small, say, so that instrument can record very high frequencies. So delta T is a, you followed it, that is the one which it decides the frequencies and other things also. Okay, so this is a very the important thing itself. So if I have data, say, like you say 30,000 time points are there, and let us say delta T is 0.01, so the total duration is 300 seconds basically. Okay, so now the Nyquist frequency will be how much?
Maximum
1 by 2 delta T. You followed. So this is 50 hertz actually. And what is the lowest frequency present in the signal? What is the lowest frequency present in the signal?
3.3 into 10 to the power minus 3.
1 by 300.
1 by 300.
1 by 300. Okay. So this will be something you followed it. So this is the lowest frequency. So now here you should be able to identify. So your C0, C1, C2 we are coming, right? So the first ones, it corresponds to which frequency? Lowest frequency. What is the lowest frequency? That is 1 by T. You followed, right? But 0. Now what is C1? C1 becomes, you followed, right? 2 times, if you take R, suppose if it starts with 0 or whatever, then this becomes 1 by T, 2 by T, 3 by T, 4 by T, 5 by T, 6 by T, like that. You see, it keeps on, the corresponding, the frequencies itself. Okay. So this is how, we calculate our, the Fourier transforms or the Fourier coefficients for our, the discrete data itself. Okay. So this is a very, the important concept. So now I will just, now here, if you see this, if you see the presentation, so then you will understand. Okay, so if you see this presentations, okay, same thing only I'm showing you. Okay, so the Fourier transforms, the discrete Fourier transform, these are all DFT we write. So of a signal, we divide this into, I told you, rectangular functions, and this is the one which we also derived. Okay, of course I showed you the fundamental thing, like from Fourier series, all these expressions comes. So many textbooks, they directly write you this expression, but this comes from your Fourier series. So if you are interested, you can study that also in great detail. Okay, so this is what we said. So this is a Fourier transform, the formula you followed. Then this is the inverse Fourier transform also. You can do summation. That integral also can be replaced with summation itself. So now so this is the final form of the discrete Fourier transform, and this is what I showed you, right? So if you have any function, say, you have to divide this into rectangle kind of a thing. Okay, so this concept comes from Riemann integrals. So mathematics, the integral concept is defined based on rectangles only. So whenever you see a function, it may be a continuous or whatever. So you divide them into small rectangles and limit width tends to 0, say. So that summation goes towards a integral. That is how the integrals are defined. So here also we do the same thing, because here also we have a integral in the continuous domain. So this is what I told you, right? So now I to the power of 2 pi n comes when k plus n, say, that is, I told you, right? N star, n plus capital M. So, so this is the property, that is a periodic basically after same number of points. And then this is what is I just wanted to show you. So now this is also same rectangular function, whatever we calculated. For rectangular function, we know already the closed form formula, that a time f naught sine omega a by 2 by omega a by 2. Already you know that formula. If you compute the same rectangular function digitally, okay, and then analytical also, so these you can see the plots here. So this is continuous lines, whatever you are showing here, this is analytical formula actually, okay. So from the formula, whatever I am showing only the half, already the rectangular function which we plotted in the, see here it is plotted from minus 100 to 100. If you plot only from 0, say, so 0 hertz only if you plot, so this is the function you can see here. So this is already the functional value, okay. So this same rectangular function, the answer already from the continuous Fourier transform. If you do it digital, say, how it looks like actual, okay. So you can observe several things. So now if I digitize a rectangular function into n is a total number of points are 64 and delta t is a 10 micro, some seconds, you see it has been taken. So delta t is very, very small and the number of points are 64, okay. So what will be its duration? What will be the total duration of the time history? Now, what is that he has done here? Delta t is 10 microseconds. What will be the highest frequency present in this signal? Nah, see 1 by 2 times delta t. You followed. Micro means how much it will be. I think micro kilohertz or something is used. Okay. So this rectangular pulse also width is 50 microseconds. That's what you see he has taken. So now what will be its Nyquist frequency will be approximately. See here. What will be its Nyquist frequency? 50 itself 1 by 2 delta t you can assume. So now what is happening here at the amplitudes? You see the dotted line. What is happening to the dotted line here? Exactly here. If you draw properly, this is the 50 hertz. What is happening after this point? These dots you see. What is happening after this dot? This side and that side.
That's symmetric.
I showed you, right? C6 is same as suppose if C5 is my that breaking point. So C4 I think in the previous problem we have taken. C5 will be same as C3. Okay. So C5 that means this dot will be same like this it comes. So this is my Nyquist, you see the frequency where it has broken actual. Okay. Now after this after this one, say what will be the value of this function? After this same thing gets the repeated here like this and it goes like this, okay. So this is how it goes. But now since in this problem, since delta t we have taken as only 10 microseconds, say, so obviously you see my time history, this one will be only, you have to see only this portion only. So the other portions are not valid, but our actual function is like this basically, but your value will be somewhere, so you should cut it. So your so this figure it is valid from where to where frequency, this dots, it is valid from 0 to now. What is the limit of this figure? You should see this figure from 0 to how much frequency? 50, because after 100 hertz, what is the value? See at 100 hertz, say what is the value of the dot? Like this, what is the actual value? This is actual value. You followed up. We have plotted the actual thing also. So actual value is somewhere close to 0, but you can see after 50 hertz, say whatever values you are getting, they are not real basically. So the continuous exact answer you are having but your discrete Fourier transform is not valid. So this figure is valid only from 0 to the highest frequency present in the signal is only 50 Hertz actually. So this figure is valid only from 0 to 50 Hertz only, nothing else. Now the next one, if you see, say, now what's the next one? What is that he has done here?
Reduce the number of points.
Delta T is remaining same, okay, but we have reduced. Now what is that he has reduced? He has reduced the time points actually. Only 32 only he has taken. So the total duration is 320 this itself. So Nyquist frequency is going to remain same or different?
Same.
Same. So now if you see this figure also is valid from where to where? So these are the dots you can see here. These are the dots for this case. But now because you are having very less number of points, say, so delta F in frequency domain also is very large actually for the first case. So now this figure also is valid from which frequency to which frequency?
0 to 50.
0 to 50, because after 50 Hertz your values are invalid actually, because at 100 Hertz this is the exact answer for this rectangular function. This is the exact value. So this and there is a huge difference because it is invalid. You have to see the Fourier coefficients only from 0 to 50. After that it is useless. You should not even plot the function at all. And now the next one, say, now what has happened here? What is
Delta T
that
is
here,
reduced to half.
Delta T has been reduced to 5. So now what will be the Nyquist frequency? So this figure will be valid from which frequency to which frequency?
0 to 100.
0 to 100 Hertz. So now after 100 Hertz, what is that you expect in this figure? So same thing, complex conjugate comes and you can see this dot 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 dot, you follow it, it is going like this. So this figure also when you plot it, so this figure is valid only from 0 to 100 Hertz only. After that it is useless, because exact value is something, but your plotting is something else. Okay, and now next one. Next one is valid from where to where? Time points are 64 only.
0 to 200.
0 to 200 actual. Okay, so 150. So this figure is you followed it. The spacing is this one, but you can see here. So 0 to 200. You have a nice the comparison. So what does it tells you? As delta T is decreasing, say, what is happening?
The discrete function is close to the analytical one.
That is close to the analytical one at what frequency? So you are the 10 seconds also is okay. 5 seconds, the 10 microsecond also is fine. But what is happening here? Your capability, what has happened to your capability when delta T was 10 microseconds?
It is restricted to 50 Hertz.
50 Hertz. So if delta T is decreasing, say, your capability has increased actually. You can go to the high, you follow, right, the frequencies itself. So this is a very, very important thing which all of you can, if you have MATLAB, you can try this simple rectangle function, because rectangle function already it's a Fourier transform, right? A times f naught sine omega, this one you plot it and then you do this discrete Fourier transform by varying delta T, by varying the number of points, then you can understand nicely, you follow, right, these things. Okay, so when you're having delta T, say, so generally what we do in Fourier transforms is we don't plot, we plot only whenever a signal has been given. I will plot only from MATLAB will give me more number, but in MATLAB also it gives this entire thing itself. MATLAB gives, MATLAB or any software, but I should not plot this graph. I should restrict my graph only up to its Nyquist frequency only. You should not plot above Nyquist frequency, because above Nyquist frequency it is wrong actually. Okay, because the exact things are not same. You should never plot this values itself. Okay, so this is how a Fourier transform works out. So if there are 10,000 points in time domains, how many Fourier coefficients are required? 500 only. 5,000, 10,000 means 5,000 only. But so Fourier transform has not reduced anything, because you are having only 500 points, but the problem is you have 500 real values, 500 imaginary values also. Okay, so if in time domain, if you're having 1000 points, frequency domain also you have 1000 points only. But what are these 1000? Half is real, half is imaginary, or half is amplitude, half is phase actual. Okay, so like that, you see, you don't you whatever that compensating, everything gets compensated in the frequency domain. Okay, so this is a very the important the property of the Fourier transforms. Now we will come back once again to this thing also. Now if you see these places, say, so like these are the places where I will show you this one. So this here, if you see, we will yes. So if you see these points, say, what are these points? Here, here, here. What are these points? Here. What is the value of the Fourier transform? What is the value? 0 actual. Okay, so where your amplitudes are 0. So sometimes these we call as holes. Okay, holes in the Fourier spectra. So that means there the frequency, that amplitude is 0. Spectrum holes or something, you see, we also call them also. Okay, so we will come back to this. This is a very thing when we go to source description, say earthquake source also, same rectangular function only comes there also. Okay, so this is how important properties are there. So please remember, so delta t, t by n, delta f, lowest frequency will be 1 by t. Nyquist frequency will be 1 by 2 delta t, or n delta f by 2 or something. You see, so this is our formula. So this you should remember. The entire, whenever whoever is doing signal processing, say. So this is a very the important thing itself. Okay, so fine. So now this also I am showing you some more interesting things. So like you see, so for rectangular function, so I have a function which is rectangle. Okay, so what is its a Fourier transform? How does it looks like? So you followed. So this is the Fourier transform for rectangle. Then it's a triangular function. So the triangular function you can see here. Then here the triangular function has become little bit smooth actual. So this becomes now here, if you see for this function, so it is oscillatory kind of a thing. Its Fourier transform will be, you followed it like this actual. Okay, so like this you can plot for several things, and we will be using all these functions in our this hazard assessment also, in ground motion simulations and others. They become very important. This also you can see. So now if I have only one triangle, say, its a Fourier transform will be like this. If I have two triangles, one is reflected portion of this triangle, how it is looking. What is happening in the frequency domain? And if you have multiple things are getting repeated, so what is happening? See what is the comment on your the figure? So what is happening when the things are multiple reflections are happening? So what is happening in the frequency domain?
We're getting multiple peaks.
Peaks are coming, multiple peaks. You can see the first peak. You have first peak here, second peak here, third peak here, like that. So now in our Earth also, say, why do seismograms have multiple peaks? See, when you plot the Fourier transform of accelerograms also, you will see these type of multiple peaks. Why multiple peaks are coming? Because of
reflections.
Reflections, obviously, right? In Earth, what happens? Our Earth also several materials will be there, right? Soil, or whatever this material. If the seismic waves pass through these things, you will be seeing multiple reflections, all kinds of things that gives rise to all these things also. Okay, so that Fourier transform helps you in understanding all these things. And then this is also very the important aliasing, they say. Okay, so if this is the original data, say, so original data is like this. Okay. So your sampling is like this basically. Now what happens when you do the sampling? Your 1 point, 1 point. So what is the delta t here? So you have taken delta t very long, but whereas initially the sample has very small. So what is happening here? So I have taken, this is the original data, but I have taken samples here. Original data is the high frequency. but the your sampling, basically you have done very bad sampling, you have picked up that large delta t's. So what happens, your high frequency the sine wave will appear as a so you see the dotted lines, the dots
Low frequency sine.
is appearing as a, because of sampling you have taken it very large delta t. It is looking like a how it is looking like?
Low frequency sine.
As a low frequency wave. Okay, this is what we call as aliasing actually. Okay, so where your high frequency, because if you don't properly take your delta t, high frequency waves may appear as a low frequency wave. This is what you say, aliasing also is very important. So this is what we'll come back to our North Palm Springs. So if you see this North Palm Springs, say, okay, so this is the Fourier transform. That is the Fourier coefficients, and then if you plot them on a computer, say, so they look you followed it like this. So y-axis is your Fourier amplitudes, and your x-axis is your you can plot with respect to period, or you can plot with respect to frequency also. Okay. Now another interesting thing what we do in this seismology or earthquake engineering is, whenever there is a Fourier amplitude spectra, say, we don't plot in a linear scale. Response spectra we plot in linear scale, but when it comes to Fourier amplitudes, we plot in log scale actually. Okay, that is log of amplitude versus log of frequency. You followed, right? So this is a very important plots we do, because this tells you a unique the property of the earthquake accelerogram. If you see earthquake accelerogram in a linear plot, so this is your linear plot, ordinary plots. You will not see any great observation here, but the same figure, say you plot in a log graph, you will see very interesting parameters like this. You can see any pattern here. All the earthquake accelegrams, so they increase actually. After that it remains more or less a constant kind of a thing. Then it decays basically. You followed. So it decays, something you can see this type of all earthquake accelegrams when you plot, but you will observe only this in log graph. Okay, not in the ordinary graphs. So there are we will see, I will show you also later on. You see there are some empirical models are there where they say is earthquake accelegrams generally when you plot in log it will have it can be approximated by 3 straight lines. Okay, one straight line where it changes slope basically. So where the slope changes here, there is one more point where slope changes once again. So this we call them as the corner frequencies also. Okay, so 2 times it changes. This is the lowest low corner frequency. This is you see the high corner the frequency also. This also some interesting observations are there. Okay. So now this is what I issue, and this is of course the relationship between you see the Fourier amplitude spectra and then the response spectra. Both of them are same. So both of them you see they are giving the frequency content also. The relationship also one can see from this graph. We'll come to that one. Okay. So this is what we said. So the properties of Fourier transform are. Fourier transform also is a periodic actually in frequency domain. After m plus 1 same thing is getting repeated itself, and real part is symmetric and imaginary part is anti-symmetric. Otherwise the signal will not be real. So if in time domain the signal is a real quantity, say, so this type of pattern you will observe in the Fourier amplitude spectra also. And of course Nyquist frequency I already showed you. Okay, and now you can see for Mexico, say, some time histories I am showing you here. This is for 8.1, 7 magnitude, 5.5, 5.1, 4.1, 3.3. If you plot their Fourier amplitude spectra, say, how they are looking like, what is your comment? This is for 8 magnitude. This is for 7. This is for 5. This is for 5.1, 4.1, then 3.1. What is happening here? Now, what is your observation? You say as magnitude increasing, what is happening?
Fourier amplitude also increases.
Fourier amplitude increases, but where they are increasing, right? You see the frequency content also?
At low frequencies.
So 3.1 magnitude, it can, what is the lowest frequency produced by 3.1? You can see here. How do you calculate the lowest frequency? Lowest frequency is
1 by t.
So what is the duration here? Duration of 3.1 is very small. Duration for 8.1 is 1 by 50 seconds. That means 1 by 50, that is, you followed. So as the duration is increasing, say the lowest frequency also will be you followed it, it decreases basically. So for 4.1, you see it automatically, you followed it, it comes. So now when magnitude is increasing, so what is increasing? Amplitudes are increasing, but they are increasing in which side of the Fourier spectra, right side or left side?
Left side.
Right side, what is happening? See, like it 20 hertz or 25 hertz or whatever, say, whatever may be the magnitude, slightly you followed it, all of them, they look something, more or less similar. But in the lower, this lowest thing, automatically you followed it, you will see a nice pattern in the Fourier spectra. Okay. But this, if you want to see, you have to plot them in log-log graph, not in linear graph. So if you plot linear, you will not see anything. You will see everything, looks like this only. You followed. But if you plot in log, you will see a lot of interesting features about, these earthquakes. Same figure only. There are response spectra also shows the same thing. You followed. So here also response spectra also, if you plot in log graph, you followed. Same data only, you will see this type of patterns here. Now here x-axis is time period, not frequency. So here also you can see the high time periods is say, like a 3 magnitude earthquake, can it produce you see 10 seconds? 3 magnitude. So you can easily understand, this is 1 second here. Okay, so 2 seconds, I have a structure, say like tall buildings. So 3 magnitude can do any harm to tall buildings?
No.
Yeah, so because it's frequency, it cannot generate that type of frequency. Now if 8 magnitude, it can have, where is that energy is concentrated? It is concentrated around what time period?
10 seconds.
2 seconds. This is 10 to the power of 0 is 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second, 5 second, like this. Okay, so tall buildings say 8.1 is very distinct. But if you see this portion, more or less you followed it, they are all similar itself. So we can get some interesting, the patterns, like larger the magnitude, richer the low frequencies, we say. So 4, 5, 6, 7 say. So this portion of the spectrum is not changed, but this portion, obviously you followed it. It depends on the magnitude. Magnitude increases, this portion also, you followed it, increase. So this is a very, very important thing in, which you can observe in Fourier amplitude spectra. But you will observe all these parameters. How you have to plot the graph?
Log scale.
Log scale only. Linear scale means nothing will be visible. Okay, so this is our how it looks like. Okay, so anyway, so I will stop here. We'll continue in the next class. So what I suggest you is, yesterday I told you, right, you download the data from that website or something like that. So you compute response spectra. You also compute Fourier amplitude spectra also. In MATLAB, FFT command is there. Okay, so I suggest all of you, you go to MATLAB, and then or any other software, so whichever you are familiar, download that that data and then plot the Fourier amplitude spectra also. Okay.